Hey, welcome back to another video. In this video, we're going to be talking about what are the benefits and the dangers of trading options. Before we get started, I'd really appreciate it if you gave this video a big thumbs up so we can boost the YouTube algorithm and help me grow the channel. And leave a comment, and don't forget to subscribe if you're not subscribed, and join Stock Market Squad. Now, without further ado, let's go right ahead. What are the benefits of options and what are the dangers of options? Now, I'm not going to dive into exactly what every single vocabulary means, but I'm just going to give you enough where it's simple and it's easy to understand, and then we can build on it from there. So let's say you wanted to buy shares in Apple, for example. Let's say that Apple right now is going for about $150. So if I have, let's say I have $1,500 that I want to invest, and I have two options. I can invest it in either the stock or I can invest it in the option. If I invest it into the stock, I'll be able to buy 10 shares because 150 times 10 is 1,500. Now, what if I wanted to buy the option? And what would it mean if I bought the option? Okay, here is how I'm going to explain it. I'm going to take you to the platform and show you exactly what I'm talking about. Here's the platform. Here's a typical option chain that is on Thinkorswim. And I'm looking at Apple. Now, if we look at Monday, we're going to see here, if we look at this week's expiration, we're going to see that the 150 call is going for $1.30. Now, that actually means that it's going to cost you $131 to buy that contract, right? So technically, you'd be able to buy 10 of these. Okay, so now let's say instead of doing 10 shares here, let's say you do 10 150 calls, which we're going for $130. So it's even a less of an investment. So, but it's just about the same, right? So you can either do the 10 shares or you can just go ahead and buy the 10 calls. Now, let's try to calculate it in terms of potential reward or risk. Let's say the stock is 150 when you bought these shares. Now, if the stock goes up to 155, let's calculate how much potentially you'll make. Since the stock went up $5 and you have 10 shares, you're gonna make $50, right? Simple. However, how much are you potentially going to make from your 10 calls? If you had it, even though it's the same investment, are you gonna make the same $50? No. Actually, what you're going to be making is a lot more than that. So if we go back to the option chain, we go here to the 150 call, right? It's going for $130. What I want you to pay attention to is something called delta. Delta is basically how much you get paid for every dollar it moves your way, or how much you lose for every dollar it goes against you. So for calls, you want the stock to go up. So the more it goes up, the more it's in your favor. So keep this $50 or 50 cents in mind. So that's for every contract, $50 for every contract. So since I have 10 contracts, then that means that the profit or loss is going to move by $500, by $500 for every dollar that Apple moves. So if you buy 10 calls and then Apple goes from 150 to 155, you're actually going to end up making about $2,500. Now, if you do the math on that, 2,500 divided by 50, that's 50x. Now, this is what I call a 50x multiplier. What that means is that whatever you had invested in the stock, if you had invested in the option, you would have made 10x or 20x or 30x. That 30x or 40x, whatever, that's the multiplier. So in this example, it's basically a 50x multiplier, which is very, very high, and it's very rewarding. However, even though it's more reward, this is also more risk, because if the opposite happens, the losses are magnified. So let's say the stock goes to 145. So now you lose $50 if you play the shares. But if you play the option and it doesn't go your way, now you're not going to lose 2,500 obviously, because your entire investment is 1,300, but you are going to lose way more, right? Delta changes as the stock price is moving, but basically, if the stock goes against you, and another thing is expiration date, right? So if you're playing a contract that has an expiration of November 19, for example, if it gets to November 19 and the stock is under 150, these calls are worth 0. So you're going to lose the entire investment, right? As opposed to, this, you could still be down $50, but then by next week you can be actually up and make that money back, right? Because you don't have to sell. With options, there's a whole time factor. So that is a benefit, but at the same time, it could also be a huge danger. So you want to be careful as you're trading options, because as we've seen here, instead of taking potentially a $100 or $200 loss, you could end up taking like $1,000 loss or $2,000 loss, because you're not managing risk the right way, and you don't know how to navigate risk, how to know how many contracts to buy, things like that. And that's where, your risk management really needs to be, on point. Another benefit is that you don't need that much capital to control a lot of the shares. So, for example, one contract of Apple, of the 150 call, costs $130. The 150 call allows me to control 100 shares of Apple, which costs $15,000. So for only $130, I'm able to control $15,000 worth of the stock, right? And it only magnifies the more contracts I get. If I get 10 contracts, then that makes me control 100 shares at 150. I'm controlling $150,000 of the stock by only using $1,300 of my own money. Look at this leverage right here. You're using this to control this. So let's say you're starting out with a small account. You're trading with 3K, 5K, 10K, whatever. It would be much tougher to grow that account trading stocks than it would be trading options. However, you can also lose that money very quickly if you're not managing risk the right way with options. Okay, so that is a benefit. You'll be able to control a lot of the stock for very little money. Okay, that's just some of the benefits and dangers of options. Please let me know if you have any questions down below. Peace.